Hey, Steph, how are you?
I'm doing excellent. How are you today?
We're doing pretty well, doing pretty well. It's for all the people that are celebrating Passover, happy Passover. Last couple of days here, especially in the New York area. Well, some of the schools are half days or closed, so it's just a nice time to see families get together as you're driving around the tri-state area. It's been great. But how you doing in Texas over there?
So far, so good. I was actually just telling our guest, who's actually also in Texas, we're talking about the weather because here it's still beautiful out. So this is like the time to just be outside, enjoy the outdoors, spend as much time as you can just being in the grass and playgrounds and stuff like that. Because when it gets to be about June, then you just we turn into New Yorkers during the winter. We just live in our house with the AC or the pools, but it's just you need to be able to cool off because it gets so hot.
Oh, so like us New Yorkers now. I got it. I got it.
Hey, it's there. I actually went to the gym this morning and there was a guy wearing a Stony Brook shirt, and I was like, "Hey, you from New York?" And he was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "There we go. I love meeting New Yorkers out in the wild in Texas." So he
Out in
moved
the
to out in the wilds.
Out in the wild, out in the wild. Well, you know what? This house show, Kick Unhealthy Relationships for the Curb. It's just about 4 years we've been doing this show. So thank you for everything that you've done. And thank you for everybody that's been watching and kind of hanging with us over those last 4 years. We met a whole bunch of nice people and new people and amazing people that are really empowering people around internationally, either virtually or in the community. Right, Stephanie?
Yeah, I love it. I love being able to, put the message out there. The people that are attracted to what we're sharing just have some really beautiful knowledge to impart on all of us. And I get something out of every single time we get to meet one of our new guests and they get to share what their experiences. And it's going to be the same thing today. Actually, when I met our guest, I said, I was at first I was like, yeah, this is cool. And then the more she was talking, the more I was like, you are badass. Like you have seen and done some really awesome things. And I love being able to connect with people on that level, is to be able to hear their experience and allow them to grow and share and teach us about what they've learned.
That's wonderful. Before we bring her on, why don't you tell us about your book?
All right. My book, Being Love Shouldn't Hurt, is all about the cycle of overcoming toxic relationships. I share my personal story of what it was like when I was feeling stuck and feeling worried that I might never find anyone ever again, and along with some steps that I took and that you could take as well in order to heal and thrive after toxic relationships. And then also, too, there's a workbook that goes along with it so that you can actually start going through the process on your own. And of course, if you're needing some extra support and accountability, you can always reach out to me for that extra bit to help you through.
That's right. It's a great book, and you've helped so many virtually. And I know maybe next week we can talk about some of the high profile cases that have been out there that are a challenge with domestic violence that are, you know, either being handled the right way or maybe kind of need some tinkering with. But that's for some later shows.
There's starting to be, I mean, in the past few years, I mean, now strangulation is a felony. That was not the case 15 years ago. Now there's actually some states are making it so that there has to be a tracking device on people that have been accused of domestic violence, so that because there's too many cases of them getting out of jail and then going and murdering their exes. So there's some things moving. It's not moving fast enough. I think there's way more mental health checks that need to be put into place, but it's people are becoming more vocal. They're becoming more aware, and shows like this are really putting a spotlight so that even if you haven't experienced it personally, maybe there's a little bit more empathy going on for people that have.
Right. And real quick, because we haven't done a show together in a week or so, what's your take on the whole O.J. Simpson thing? I know he just passed away. I mean, fortunately, two lives were lost.
Well, I actually just did I did a
And
TikTok video
I think
on
that's
that, and it seems like,
something
oh, sorry, Steve, you're
that
breaking up
we
a
need
little
to
bit.
look at in the future about future cases or future situations.
Yeah. So sorry, you were breaking up a little bit, but I mean, I think one of the things that's really amazing is that, you know, there were so many clues that he was the one who did it. But as so often when someone is well known, they tend to get away with things more easily. And of course, we know that when there was a civil case by Mr. Goldman's father, he was found guilty. So I think that it was at a time where people were not ready to hear it. There was so much other racial divides. There was so many people that did not believe that it was possible for someone who put on an air of being such a good guy to be someone who was capable of murder. But the thing is that when someone is so angry, there is parts of them that might come out that the world might not have seen before. So I mean, I wasn't there. I'll never know 100%. There's people that talk about how it was his son or somebody else. We will never know 100%. But I do think that having experienced helping people heal from toxic relationships, the scariest time is when someone leaves, because we're not sure what they're capable of. They are trying to manipulate and control. And when they are afraid of having somebody else get their possession, which is their significant other, their ex-significant other, they will go to any length to keep that from happening. And sometimes that means ending their lives. So it was an awful case. I remember so well. I was babysitting that day when we actually saw his Bronco going across the screen. I think I was watching probably Beavis and Butthead while I was babysitting the kids I was babysitting for. And I was like, wait a minute, there's a Bronco. Wait a minute. I knew this guy from some movies. I'm not a sports person, but I knew him from that. And I just was shocked that we were experiencing that. And of course, you know, again, different perspective now, having helped so many people heal from toxic relationships. So again, so much more work needs to be done, but hoping that we'll continue to go in the right direction. And obviously peace to Nicole and Ron and their families. So thank you for asking. I have a feeling Steve is having some technical issues. Steve is gone. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring on Dr. Mary Clement, who is our wonderful guest today. So welcome to the show, Mary. We're so happy to have you on today and to share all the great things that you've experienced and impart this on our audience. So welcome.
Well, thank you. It's my great pleasure. I had the opportunity to watch some of the things that you and your husband were doing together. And I saw the love and devotion between the two of you and the playfulness. And I thought, these two are twin flames. And I said, what a joy for their clients that you work with, because I strongly believe that we have a great longing to meet up with our knight in shining armor, but we fail to realize that we've got to come up to that level of the knight in shining armor ourselves. Okay. We expect them to carry it all, and we can't. And so I wrote a poem that I want to dedicate to you and your husband, if I may read it.
Oh, sure.
It's Twin Flame. As a fiery ovid, we were one, soul of soul and heart of heart. As an eternal flame burning as one, we wanted to come to earth. Our Father divided us into two parts so that each would learn the lessons of life. Yet along the way, we made choices based on lust, not love. Choices that separate us from each other. Choices that separate us from our God source. Soul of my soul, where are you now? All the other lovers are counterfeit. I desire only you. I choose only you. It is only you who is me. For you, my twin flame, are heart of my heart, soul of my soul. And I see that in you. And what it means is that if I were near you in your auric field, I would feel like it's so much fun to be around you, because it's an energy, frequency, vibration. And that energy, frequency, vibration is giving all of the people you work with a shot in the arm. It's a remembrance. it's something where they say, oh my God, this is really how life could be if I weren't in this toxic relationship. It gives them hope. And that's why I wanted to share that with you.
Well, and I appreciate that. And I think, and that's obviously our hope as well, is I think when you're in it and you can't see out of it because you're drowning, you're just trying to survive. It's so scary to think of what else is out there. And there's this fear of I'm going to be alone forever and nobody's ever going to want me and I'm unlovable. And
Right.
once we start loving ourselves, we start attracting people that are better fits for us, and he probably would not have been my person until I did the work. I had to do what I needed to do to heal me before I could find him and accept him into my life.
And that's the point I wanted to make, is that, I've been an attorney for the last 18 years. And in that, on some days, I'm representing the wife or the husband in a divorce case. And on the other day, I'm representing an indigent defense. I'm doing indigent defense work for a domestic assault person. And what happens is we fail to remember that we have to be up to the same level as that knight in shining armor.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to do our own work. And the problem is, and I learned this through doing my degree work, is that what they teach in the social work program is mostly of the head.
Yes.
It teaches you to make rational choices. It chooses you to think differently about something. But it doesn't get to the cause and core, which is the emotional element. And the result system that I use, and which your husband uses with Psyche, it gets into the emotional, and it helps you identify where you picked up that idea. It helps you get rid of it. It helps you get a new system that helps support you in the new way that you need to go. And so I have been very blessed in my life to have it used on me. And of course, it doesn't mean that you throw everything out with the bathwater of the left brain rational approaches to psychology. But man, if you want really quick results and want to move on, the stuff that your husband and I are doing is just the right thing.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Steve, are you back?
I think so. We're having some technical problems, but it's interesting that you mentioned, Doctor, about how you represent both sides in any case in a divorce or even domestic violence. Do you have challenges when you see something occurring legally? It might be different what you feel personally. How do you deal with that to help your client or to make this whole process smoother, to them to understand what the whole...
Well, let me clarify. When I do the criminal defense work, that is on a different day in a different court with a different client. Okay? And then when I have clients that come to me for divorce, the husbands and wives that come, I can serve as a secretary and we can write up what they want. Judges don't want to hear all the battering anymore. What judges do is say, divorce now, let's go to the property issues. And they want to just hone in on how much money is there, how much debts are there, so that everybody has to take their fair share. So my point is, I'm not handling the two people within a relationship. What I find happening when I do the women, or when I do domestic, is oftentimes that woman is being battered.
Right.
And she should have left the relationship a long time ago, but she didn't. And the judges can't understand that. I gotta share this one story because this was so slick of this husband. He had learned long ago And he told me personally that I have learned how to hurt her, but don't leave any marks. That's how the training went for him. But they were getting a divorce. And what he did, this is the slick part. He got her to sign a home improvement loan for the house and refinanced the complete house at $60,000. And then she got some new windows. And then he proceeded to spend $56,000 over the next 2.5 years on things that he wanted. He would buy steaks for himself and hot dogs for her. And then when it got close to the money was running out, he filed for divorce. Now this man is on Social Security. So what happened was the judge made him sell the house at $100,000. And even though I argued that the husband had gotten the benefit of over $56,000, the judge made her pay half of that loan. So let's pretend the house was $100,000. They had to pay $60,000 back. Of the $40,000, she got $20,000. He got $20,000. But she had to pay her debts, including legal expenses. So in the end, she lost her house. She couldn't get any alimony from his Social Security benefits. And she was homeless. Within a year, the man died. And she was able then to get some of his Social Security because she had been married to him for over 10 years. But
Wow.
she stayed thinking that she was going to get the house and she was going to get alimony. And she got none of it.
Wow.
So
The manipulation is disgusting, isn't it? I mean, like, to go out and take that kind of money and then spend it on whatever he wanted. It's such a typical thing. It's not surprising when you do this work, because that's the kind of stuff that I hear all the time, which is sad.
What was sad about it was, of course, she needed counseling. But for me to try and do counseling, they don't want to hear a lawyer do counseling with them.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's the new profession I've done. I've now put myself out there to be the counselor to the attorneys who've got clients that are, I mean, she finally got mad and angry, and she needed to, but nobody else understood that it was it was the fifth stage in Basson, the book on Courage to Heal. She was in the fifth stage of the 14 stages where you finally get mad and angry.
Right.
She was
Right.
mad and angry. He had hurt her back 20 years ago, and so she wasn't able to work. So her Social Security benefits weren't very high.
Right.
But when I tried before the judge to show that he got the benefit of it, he said that because it wasn't large sums of money spent on trips to exotic islands, that it was just living expenses. She had to help pay for it.
Right. Wow.
And I got to thinking, if we have clients who think they don't have enough money to pay for our services, they should start thinking about getting a home improvement loan.
Right.
And stashing money away. And I recommend the vacuum cleaner, because it's one place that the other partner usually doesn't look for. But
I'm a big proponent of stashing money. That was one of the things. I had a tenant, and so whenever the tenant would pay in cash, so I would take $20, $40, $60, something like that, put off to the side, add it to the piles so that we could pay whatever bills. And within a few months, there was a few $100s in there. I think it got past 1,000, but it was all the just in case money, so that I could leave and have enough to take care of myself. Maybe it was just a hotel or to whatever I needed to do. But and I was someone who had the money. I was the one who kept the money. So he wanted to come after me because I had the money. A lot of our women that are in these toxic relationships, even though they are the breadwinners, they still, they can't, they don't have access to the money.
Right.
Or the ones that are not the breadwinners are totally dependent on their significant other for money, and they don't have it either. So it's like, both are difficult.
I know, but I thought that was the cleverest thing I'd ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And he planned it. He planned it. I mean,
yeah.
all she got out of it was new windows, when the promise was she'd get a new roof for the house as well.
Ugh.
Another issue I would imagine through the court system, or even your work with domestic violence, if it's a divorce situation or separation, is parental alienation. At times where that is another form, especially in the divorce world, either the man and the woman and the man, whoever has custodial rights to the children. And sometimes I've seen it over and over again. They use as pawns regarding their contact with the biological mom or biological dad. And if there's finances involved, people equate child support and alienation. It's two separate things. Stephanie, have you dealt with situations like that in your career?
I literally have 2 clients currently where their exes are accusing them of parental alienation, while the children are telling the moms, I'm afraid of dad. He scares me. One of them is suicidal because of it. He's had suicide attempts because he's so afraid of going to see dad. And one of the clients, the mom took the children to a psychologist, and the psychologist said, yeah, she is alienating dad. Although the reason why she doesn't want her kids to see dad is because they literally are fearful for their safety. So there's never, like, I find, and I don't know, Dr. Mary Clement, you can tell me this too, but it's so hard for it to be black and white. There's so much manipulation that goes on in these relationships, and again, from my perspective, I very often see the other side of it, where someone is dealing with the other person trying to alienate them. Although I have seen it the other way around as well, as Steve has too. But it's awful when they use the system to manipulate further their ex-spouse. Have you seen that too?
In fact, I thought I retired from law, and one of my old clients called me because she's got a problem with her ex-husband, who moved. They moved to Ohio, but they got divorced in Tennessee. That's the worst thing to do, is move to another state, because
Right.
then you got to get another court system involved.
Yeah.
And
Right.
he's doing parental alienation against her. And she might not be the best person, the best mother, but in the state of Tennessee, they require people who are divorcing to take a 4-hour parenting class. Now, I don't think it's enough, because the whole idea, and I've taught the class, so I know what's in it. But it helps them understand what they're doing to their children, the self-esteem to the child. We're creating a new population of people who are going to be traumatized by any relationships in families. It's sad. It's just so sad, because it doesn't have to be that way. It just doesn't have to be that way.
So we only have a few minutes. We have 4 minutes left, I was just told.
Okay.
These always go so fast. But, one of the things, all of this is so important for people to know. I mean, obviously, number one, with your background as being, a lawyer, your years of being an attorney, I think it's so important for people to know your legal perspective, and the fact that now you're doing more of the coaching so that you can help educate. You've also done some really cool things. You've written a book. You've definitely been published. I'd love to hear some of your experiences outside of these toxic relationships, because I think, one of the things that I want to keep reminding people is things can get better. We can change. We can go on and create something beautiful and amazing. And I know you do some really cool things. You mind sharing a little bit of your experiences outside of the courtroom? Oh, there we go.
The one book is called Soul Soaring. It's new techniques for diagnosing and overcoming what separates you from harmony within. And it talks about some of the clients that I had using this result system. But more recently, I published a book called Peace. And it is encounters with the divine while I was overseas in Jerusalem as a Fulbright scholar, and it's to help uplift and strengthen people. And so it's newly out. Armed only with a peace pipe, I, as a Fulbright scholar and highly educated white woman who's been adopted into a Native American tribe, spent the school year 1988-99 teaching at the Law Center at Verzet University in the West Bank. She learns and shares the keys to peace and healing, and reflects and encounters with angels and the ultimate higher power. It's a good book to lift your soul.
And is that on Amazon, or where can they get that?
Yes, both of them are.
Okay.
Amazon and Barnes and Noble, both of them.
Awesome. All right.
And thank you for letting me plug those books.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I think, it's so important. We love having authors on the show. I think it's so important to be able to share the links and access to it. So you can get Dr. Mary Clement's books on Amazon. Definitely go check those out. Are there any social media links that you'd like to share so people can follow you?
I'm on LinkedIn, and as you know, and I'm on Alignment or something like that.
Okay. All right.
But I gave up Facebook because they didn't like something I said, but they wouldn't tell me what it was I said that was bad. And I realized that was arbitrary and capricious. How can you know to correct yourself in the future if you don't know what it was you did in the past?
Oh, yeah.
And so I decided I wasn't going to play that game anymore. So I stopped them about 5 years ago. So I'm sorry, but I'm not playing that game.
Well, congratulations, because some of us have that love-hate relationship where I don't necessarily want to be on all the social medias, but sometimes there's things that you have to kind of still follow those things. So anyway, I really want to thank you so much. I know we're about out of time. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with all of us today. Steve, thank you for coming while you're super busy doing all the great work that you're doing. We appreciate you. And next week, we'll have another great episode and sharing great knowledge about helping you heal from toxic relationships. So on that note, thank you everybody for hanging out with us, and never forget, you are way stronger than you realize. See you next episode. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.